We all know we need to figure out the needs and the concerns of our buyers. But what we need to figure out in addition to that is the strength of our buyers. What are their superpower? And how do they buy? And why are they buying? If you can understand that, it's going to help position you. It'll make you a little bit more effective in your role as a sales rep. And you know what? It's also important for you to understand yourself and your superpower, your strengths. In today's episode, we're going to talk about that. My friend's going to break down how he's doing this and how you can do this for yourself as well as your organization. Ooh-wee! It's going to be some good stuff, man. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, as I mentioned in the teaser, we have a great guest coming on the show. It's a friend of ours. His name is John Voris. And John is an entrepreneur. He's also a seller. He's had tons of experience working with organizations and working with individuals. And today we're going to talk about how it's important for us to not only understand our own strength, but understand our buyer's strength, and how we can position ourselves as sales reps towards fixing the solution or fixing a problem with an effective solution that ties around focusing on your buyer's strength. Listen, I am not the expert on this. John is, and he has so much wisdom, so I won't even try to explain it all to you. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the episode and break it down for you. Welcome to the show, John.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. You're out in California. I'm in Florida. We got COVID in between us, but technology is keeping us together, and I'm grateful for that. So, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you today because we're going to talk about the one need that every human mind is craving or must have. And I want to tackle that and see how that applies to us here in the sales world as sales reps. But before we hit up on all the good stuff, John, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
When I was in my 20s, my parents wanted me to be an attorney, and I wanted to be a teacher. So, yeah, there you go. So I went to Berkeley and studied, of all things, philosophy. And that was a good major for an attorney for going into law school. And I needed a part-time job. So I tried door-to-door cold calling. And I failed 4 times in a row. I was fired.
Hold on. Okay. 4 times in a row, you're fired. Was this the same company or was this a different company?
Different companies. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're perfect because you can make your own hours. They'll train, and it's perfect for someone in college.
Yeah.
So I went back to the warehouses anyway. So then I thought I need to study. So I did. I went to workshops, seminars, read books, listened to tapes, and went back 3 times. But this time I decided to quit before I went through the humiliation of being fired. So we now have 7 times in a row. So I didn't care for law school. I bought a delicatessen, and my supplier said, "Why don't you sell for me when you sell it?" And I said, "Okay." So it took about 5 years, put up for sale, and sure enough, we made that agreement. And just when my deli was in escrow, he called me up and said, "Well, we're going to have to file bankruptcy." Uh-oh. Now, see, at that time, I had a wife and child, and my wife did not work. So I'm looking at my business has been sold, and I'm looking at utter failure 7 times in a row. I was terrified, and that's the word I'll use.
Eek.
So what I did notice is that in sales training, they spend very little time on the topic of language, communication, and how it works. And because the idea of language is the books are so massive, it would fill a modest bookstore. That's how much is not being taught. So what I did is I decided I'm going to do something different. And so I abandoned everything I learned from what I had learned in this country, and I went straight to things such as existentialism, phenomenology, which nobody needs to know about. I'm the one that reads the books that nobody else wants to read. Anyway, so, but it told me how language actually does work and what objects are and how they are in our life.
Yeah.
And so once I got that, I started doing experiments out in the field. Within 3 months, I had a pattern, and within 6 months, I had a model. So that model took me out 20 years of door-to-door cold call sales. 7 times I failed, and 20 years I was successful. my ratio was 14 sales, cold call now, 14 sales out of 20.
Whoa. 14
Yeah.
out of 20?
Yep.
So you had some pretty decent batting average there. So if you knocked on 20 doors, you're telling me 14 of those you're going to close in a sale.
Yep. But I have to
Nice.
qualify. I have to qualify that.
Yeah.
So the qualification is I never went to each building in a row because I'm reading, of all things, we can't get into it now, but symbols.
Yeah.
Everything's a symbol. Anything, an object with a name is a symbol. So buildings are symbols, streets are symbols. Usually when we learn about symbols, there's something that's intentionally designed, like a logo, sports logos, things like that, or your T-shirt. It's definitely made for that. Truth is that symbols is everything with a name. So your carpet is a symbol. Your table is a symbol. The microphone's a symbol. Everything around you is a symbol. Now, we collect or surround ourselves with symbols that resonate with who we are, what we like, and we avoid what we dislike. That's not very profound, but when you stop and think that everything around you has to resonate with who you are, why not read the objects and make that discovery and discover who you are? And that's what I did for 20 years. And I've been teaching it. I taught my daughter this when she was only 14.
No, well, that's fascinating. It's really interesting to hear. And the other part to this too, and congratulations, you fell. It's a Chinese proverb: fall 7 times, get up 8. And in your case, you definitely fell 7 times, and you got up to 8, and the 8th time gave you a pretty decent success. Now, this ties very closely. I mean, obviously, all this lines up with this need that the human mind has, and I want to figure out what that is. What's that one thing that every human mind has or crave for, so that it can help us here as a sales reps?
Yeah, so in this country, we always focus on doing, physical things and doing. Europe focuses on what it means to be human, and that's really the difference. And
when you say what it means to be human, what do you mean by that?
Well, we have motivations that, for example, we are curious, and that leads us to wisdom. We want to change things, and that's where our power manifests itself. We think about what is fair, and that leads us to justice. There's a book by Edward Brown, on the human universals, and there's about 300 universal aspects to what it means to be human that's repeated over and over again, such as we have laws different for an adult than a child. Well, that's universal. That's what it means to be human. We all love. We all want to engage in others and have relationships. That's what it means to be human. So there is a you might say a model for that, and that's what I discovered. So the one need is the need to express your authentic identity. That's what the one need is. Everything else is a want or a desire. And I've been assessing people now since 2004, and it's been consistent. It was consistent during the 20 years.
Yeah.
And so now, and it was also been consistent since I've been doing assessments. It's like a personality profile test on steroids. And so it works. And so the one need is to express yourself. In this country, we focus on doing. And the problem I found was in war, all those motivations don't work.
Why is that?
Because what it is, it's a state of being that motivates us, not what we do. It's not about we need to achieve. Yes, but why? Because we have to achieve something that our identity is pushing us toward. There's a difference between drive and desire. There's a difference. And so what I wanted to find is the drive. In fact, my book is Discover the Power Beneath Your Personality, that drives your personality, because that's where your energy is, and your power is beneath what people see. We live in a visible physical world, but we live and die for the invisible abstract world of ideas. So objects are here for us to manifest who we are. The one motivation we have, we must express ourselves. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what year it is, it doesn't matter. So once you see that every person, every prospect you see is out to express themselves, then you look around them and say, everything in this person's environment is something that resonates with them. Why can't I read those objects and what they mean collectively and find out the essence of that person? Now, once I find that doesn't mean I have a sale, but I know how to language what I'm selling toward what I see. So that made the big difference. And that sounds complicated, but again, I taught this to my daughter.
Well, let's go back to the sales process. How does I have it written down here, the seller's authentic identity impacts the sales process?
Okay. So let's imagine you and I are going to create a Western movie. And so we're going to have horses. We're going to have a town, dusty town. We're going to have a saloon.
You got to have a bank. There's got to be a bank. And
got to be a bank. Yeah. Okay. And so you're going to be guns and rifles. So those are the forms. That's what they call form. Mm-hmm. So now I don't know if it's going to be a Winchester, but do I really care? Not much. We don't know if it's going to be an Appaloosa or a Palomino horse. We don't know, but we don't care. Mm-hmm. So Western is the theme that we want to see.
Sure.
That's like a person. So we're going to move that over. Let's go first. I have to go back. What if you were to open up the saloon door and saw Frankenstein?
Wrong movie.
Wrong movie. Thank you. Wrong movie. Totally.
Wrong era.
Wrong era. So what if I wanted to sell them a laser gun? You know, here's the producer and a producer there, and I'm going to sell them a laser gun. Well, it won't work, will it?
Unless it's Back to the Future, but I still don't see the relevance.
The idea is that it's the theme dominates everything.
Yeah.
So I can't sell them something that doesn't conform to the theme. So now I'm going to go one more step.
Okay.
Let's say we're talking to a master carpenter.
Okay.
Master carpenter takes 20 years. Now, there's a lot of things that a person can be, but again, what their profession is really shows their skills and abilities. And they have to find these skills and abilities in themselves. So I ask, what would it take to be a master carpenter? Well, one, patience. They have to have patience.
True.
And I've asked people, a whole room of 30, 40 people, would you find a master carpenter want to rush through their work and be impatient? The answer is no. You would not find one. Well, that's important because what I just discovered is part of who that person is. This person is patient and wants to see the long-term benefits, not interested in the short term. Another is they're interested in detail.
Yeah.
So why not speak about my product in terms of the details of what it is? You see what's happening? So as I move through what it means to be, I language what I'm selling toward that individual person of what I see. So what I see are the symbols that represent that person, and I will speak to that. And that they will take me and my product and absorb it into who they are symbolically.
So let's back up and make sure I understand this correctly here for slow folks like myself. If we are saying then you're looking at the person surrounding, the things in their office, the things in their building that will help you understand who they are as an individual, and then you adjust your language accordingly towards that.
But I'm working with archetypes. I don't know them, but I'm working with the archetypes they are. Yes.
Yeah. No, but that's very interesting because I think it's like you said, you're being very mindful of their surrounding and helping to come from a human standpoint. You're speaking to the individual as opposed to just, let me just throw out the Frankenstein, so to speak, features and benefits, or a laser gun.
Right.
When Frankenstein really just needs a brain or a heart or something, right?
Right. Okay.
So, but how does the prospect's authentic identity impact the sales process? So we talked about the seller, but the other side now.
Okay. So when I'm meeting the carpenter, there's two things that are happening. It's synchronicity. I know what it means to be a carpenter. And so I'm going to language myself toward that person. And in so doing, then they're going to see me resonate with who they are. So that's where the authenticity comes in. If I'm being honest and authentic with him in the description, and I'm using his words and point of view, then
Yeah.
he's going to see me as being authentic. And at that time, then you create mutual trust. So it all works together. So it's not a him or me, but rather it's a phenomenon that occurs when you're in touch with the authentic of another.
So hear me out on this, John. So now let's say in a world like where we're living in now, where so many of us are communicating virtually, and especially going through the coronavirus and the pandemic, how can I still adopt this mentality when I do not have an ability to really grasp all the archetypes that a person might have when I'm in a digital atmosphere? Am I making sense with that?
Well, the other, yes, and the other is when we speak, remember, it's all about objects, like physical. So when you think about language, you either see it or you hear it. The meaning is abstract, but you hear and see language. So most of my assessments are on the phone. I never see them, but I don't need to, because everyone has their own lexicon, their own vocabulary that is resonating who they are, that one need. They need to express who they are. And so there's a language to that, and it has a dynamic to it. It has boundaries, and it's not hard to pick up very rapidly. And so what I do on the phone is I listen to how they create their own logic and reason. And that tells me exactly who they are. I mean, in an abstract fashion. So I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If someone said violence is on the rise because Hollywood glorifies violence.
Yeah.
So there's really two sentences. And it's like one is they're floating in the air. They don't belong to each other. What happens is people, their authentic identity brings those two aspects together and make a cause and effect. They're showing you how they think. We do it naturally, but we don't think about it. So when I ask them another question, and I see that it conforms to their first answer, then I'm starting to again get into their authentic identity, and I'll be able to language what I'm selling.
Yeah. So I love that idea, language what you're selling.
Yes, everyone. For example, when I first started, I had to do it in a sense inductively. I would learn how they function in an archetypal fashion, but in a state of doing. But later, I discovered they come under 4 categories: love, justice, wisdom, and power. And these 4 resonate with history back to the Egyptians. And so it seems that these 4 are truly dominating who we are as individuals. And so I had to test it, and I've been doing that since 2003, and it's worked. So I can find their theme rapidly, and then I can find the rest as I continue talking to them.
Going back to this idea, what's your feelings on script then, if a sales team uses a script?
Well, what I taught for about 10 years, what I would do is you'd have the main effect of what the company needs you to express to your prospects. But I would have talking points.
Okay.
And I would say, these are the talking points. You language it the way you want. The reason why is because then they're going to be authentic. And then when they're authentic, that's going to come across to the other person. We all feel this. I mean, see, what I didn't understand is, why is it that my trainers I could say the same thing that my trainers have taught me, and they make a sale and I don't?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It wasn't true to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I had the same problem when I first started off doing sales. I was mimicking my sales leader, my sales trainer at the time, and his personality was definitely not DK's personality. Speaking about myself in the third person now feels kind of cool. But his personality definitely wasn't my personality. And I saw that I didn't have the efficacy that he had in his delivery. But until I got to dissect what the message was and had, craft my own questions, understanding what the challenges were, I was able to stay true to myself, and that enabled me to help create my own I guess go to market
Mhm.
phraseology or language, as you would put
Mhm. And that's why they have casting directors,
it.
right? So you see, this is what used to drive me crazy, having to learn these scripts. So what I did is I had everyone just learn to deliver it any way they'd like,
Yeah.
and that made a difference. That they were all being authentic to themselves.
What is the outcome when both seller and the prospects have room to be truly authentic?
There's almost a friendship that's created. It's a different level of empathy. That is what I try for every time I saw a prospect. And I did it rapidly. I mean, I only had about 35 seconds to make this delivery and to understand who they were and be able to language what I'm selling toward that identity that I'm saying. And so it's it took a while to get that down, but it was consistent over all the 20 years.
So I guess, what would it take? How do you get the prospect to be, well, what if a prospect isn't trying to be authentic? Like, you meet some people and they want to keep their guards up. How do you go about helping them to put that guard down to be authentic? Is that going back again to the archetype?
Yes, so they all have guards. That's my
Yeah.
point. The only way to get past the guard is to speak the language that they are.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So I want to, the outside is the personality, the social persona, and they
Sure.
all have it. So I want to get deeper than that. So that's what I do. And I decide, let's say you're a justice person. And so you really have a great deal of feelings for others, but it's countered with also facts, figures, knowledge, wisdom. So there's a balance there. So if I approach someone that is a justice person, I will give a balanced review of what I'm selling, and they can understand that. If you're a power person, I will explain how this can empower you.
Hmm.
If you're a wisdom person, I'll tell you what this product is compared to other products on the market, because you'll be interested in knowing. And then if you're a love person, I would show you how this would really bring a lot of pleasure in your
Yeah.
life. You see?
Yeah.
So I had four approaches, and they worked. This is why I had 14 out of 20.
Dang. So yeah, I mean, I guess to be able to truly it takes the failure to be able to figure out what's going to work for you, for your authentic self, and then to be able to use that strategy towards your success. Because I mean, again, some people would have given up, but there's something to say about you and your personality.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I wanted to know why this was happening. And
Yeah.
so I made it a study. I'm one of
Yeah.
those crazy people who do that kind of thing. I really enjoy research, and that's what I really do. But I was able to sell for those 20 years because I had to abandon everything I learned here. See, the thing is, I didn't have a natural talent or ability. There's a lot of people on your show that have excellent advice. They're
Sure.
professional, etc. But I wasn't them, and so I was the oddball. So my clients are also people who went through a lot of courses in sales and it just didn't work for them. And that's who I engage with. And have one coach, career coach, and she has, I assess her client with her, where the three of us get together on the phone. And she has a 97% placement rate, but a 95% retention, which means that
That's
they're
great.
still there after 5 years. Yeah.
Shoot, somebody's sticking around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So this is very different, but it's different because it's from Europe.
Yeah.
It's you can't find it in Europe, but I cobbled together all these ideas and went out there and experiment. It was a process of elimination for for the first year, I think.
Well, there's a lot of great insights here. And I mean, there's a lot for somebody to chew on, to take and apply. But if there's one major takeaway you want folks to walk away with, what's that one major piece of advice?
Everyone is expressing their authentic identity.
Yeah.
And they can't stop. And so you have to feel your authentic identity and experience it in order to find joy and happiness in the world. Unfortunately, like myself, you have parents and friends telling you should be something else, doctors and attorneys and everything. And so you miss that authentic expression. And this is why I have people coming to me in their mid-30s and 40s, and they're not happy. They were, the last 20 clients I had were attorneys, in fact.
Yeah.
And so they're not happy. And that's because they wanted to be something else. And it's just the world tells them who they should be. And this is very frustrating.
Yeah, man.
So you have to express your authentic.
Well, this stuff has been great, John, man. And we truly appreciate you taking the time to come on a show today. But if folks are listening and they say they want to connect with you, the stuff resonated with them, what's the best way for them to go about connecting with you?
Well, go to my site, johnvoris.com. And then there's various prompts.
VORIS, right?
Yes, johnvoris.com. And if you'd like to have an assessment, I do that. And I would charge as people can afford. And so I give them a lot of leniency. And it's turns out to be very mindful. It's just
yeah,
great.
Especially right now, too.
Right now, yes. People are really thinking about their jobs. And, oh, yeah. And a lot of people, they love their job. They don't like what they do. They love what they do, and they don't like their job. They're finding this out. So I assess them and find out what their real motivation is.
Well, John, man, this is great, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us today, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
As you know, ladies and gentlemen, that was our great friend, John Voris. And if you want to go ahead and connect with John, you can find all of his information right down below. You're watching this here on TSE TV. Just scroll down below on YouTube and you'll see the information that we've collected. Also, you can find John on LinkedIn. You can also go back to our website. You can find all the details there as well. We want to make sure you're successful, man. We want to give you everything that you're going to need to be able to be successful in your role as a seller. Let me actually point this out to you. You can go back to our website. You can see it all here on the Sales Evangelist. Just go to the salesevangelist.com/the word episode. So / then the word episode, and then the number 1309. Again, the salesevangelist.com / then the word episode, then the number 1309. Connect with John. Tell him you like what you heard and you want to be his friend. Take advantage of some of the great things that he has to offer. Also, when you're there, check out Crumble. If you're watching this on TSE TV, you can also look down and you'll see the link there below, as well as on the screen. You'll see us pop up the link to Crumble. You can get the CRM for absolutely free to start off, and you can add on and grow with it as you need. It's Crumble, CRM, no you, CRMBLE.com/TSE. I share stuff like this because I want to help you. I want you to succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say to them when you're speaking with them. I want you to be able to naturally convert them into paying customers and to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.